Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 1. The member which are Dian Ramadhini, Rizky Ferdian Prasetyo, Herman Gilang, Diva Annisa Febecca, Adinda Arwa Salsabil, and Fadil Faithul Azhan. We will make a video about the implementation of the misunderstanding culture in several countries. Sorry if there are any wrong word, and thanks to Miss Lina Setianasari who has been the supervisor in this big test.
Well, hello, how are you guys?
Hi Dean, I'm fine.
Me too, I'm good.
I think it has been a long time since we met, is it right? And so far, how's your work life?
So far, my work life is good because I'm working in another country. I feel not familiar with the culture when I first came here.
Oh, why is that?
Usually in Indonesia, people tend to be very friendly by smiling when we pass someone. But in Korea, people find it weird and not familiar when someone doing that. And Korean people don't speak English very well because it's not their first language. They tend to speak Konglish, which is Korean version of English words. For some words that weren't in the traditional Korean language, these Korean people simply took the English words and sounded it out in Korean. And it's hard to understand when you first hear it. What about you, Din?
Well, about me, as an Indonesian, I'm so fascinated with Japanese. As long as I'm in Japan, I always using train to go to work. And in the Japanese train, you are not allowed to speak out loud and playing handphone in the train because it considered not and not appropriate. Even in the Japanese train, they are have announcement not to take phone cells and you are must turn them off while inside the train. And do you know guys, in the morning, in the Japanese train, all the passenger is very quiet. All the passenger prefer to read books or some newspaper or listening to the music by headset. And by the way, one thing you must know again, if in Indonesian restaurant giving tips is a good attitude, but you cannot do this in Japan because tipping in Japanese restaurant can be a form of insult for them. Providing the best service has become an obligation, so the customer happy and come back to the restaurant again.
Wow, that is actually a good information. Okay, I will talk about things in the USA that are quite different from Indonesia that make me feel a bit culture shock. Anyway, they are my personal experience, so it won't be the same like others. My first shock was when I came to USA about 4 years ago. Surprisingly, people here are very friendly. Indonesian people are like one of the friendliest people on earth. But over here, it is a different kind of friendly. Here, people greet with "Hi, how are you?" or "Hi, how are you doing?" even though they don't know each other. It is very normal in here, like a habit. I have a story. So when I arrived at the office, a stranger greeted me, "Hi, how are you?" and I am in shock because it was weird if there is a stranger that suddenly come to you and asking about "How are you?" You might be confused and shocked, right? In Indonesia, when greeting a stranger, it is enough to say "Good morning." And the second one, I was so shocked when I heard my friend calling my boss just by his or her name. And my first reaction when I heard that was like, isn't it rude if we call someone who is older than us just directly by his name? Because in Indonesia, we used to call someone who is older than us with Pa, Bu, Kaka, and other. But in USA, we just call their names. At first, it's a little awkward, but now I'm used to it. How is your work life, Rizky?
Mine is kind of the same as Diva. In my workplace, Australia, the employees don't have to call the boss as boss. I mean, I think it's optional. We can call our boss as boss or sir or maybe not. And Australians really appreciate our work. People in here so disciplined, including in work meeting, coordination and others. These are the things that differentiate Australia from Indonesia.
For me, Germans are so typical with appointment because everything must be planned flawlessly before, even to visit their own family member who happen to live in the same town like them. They need to make an appointment at first. While in Indonesia, you can just come over and knock on the door, risking that probably nobody at home. I didn't get used to it in the beginning, but time flies and now I think this habit is very convenient to me. If you visit a doctor in Indonesia, you take a number and wait the doctor for hours to call you. The doctor works sometimes until midnight when they happen to have so many patients waiting. In Germany, you would not need to wait that long because you made an appointment in advance and the assistant could manage the schedule and how many patients they would accept so that the doctors don't need to overwork. The other things about Germans are that they are outspoken and direct. They don't like to beat around the bush. Yes means yes and no means no. If they dislike something, they would say it as well as if they like something. It might sound rude to people from the other cultures, but they never meant to be rude. It is just their style of speaking. It is very different with Indonesians. In Indonesia, you should be sensitive enough to read one's expression or gesture or sometimes even to just read behind the sentences. What Indonesian said is not always meant the actual thing that they thought in mind. A funny misunderstanding could happen like this in Germany. Indonesian guests visit a German house and order food. For an Indonesia, it is not so polite to directly accept everything offered. It somehow so as if one is so greedy and expectant to be given things. So the normal reaction would be, no thank you, I'm full, or similar. But deep down in their heart, they are expecting to be offered again once or sometimes even twice, just like the custom in Indonesia. But the German thinks differently. They would just accept the no as a matter of fact and respect your choice, and they will not offer the guests again. So finally, the guests come back home thirsty, hungry, and with revenge. What about you, Gilang?
I'm not much different for all of your story. I also experienced many difficult in adapting when I start working. In Saudi Arabia, all clothes must be close and polite, especially women. Unlike in Indonesia, the style of dress depends on each individual and there are no specific regulation that regulates this thing. And also, in Saudi Arabia, women are not allowed to drive a car. This becomes an obstacle when there are meetings with female colleagues. There is also no way to have meeting has to be held with more than two people when with women. People in Saudi Arabia will receive unqualified guests for 3 days and will not ask anything and even serve them. After 3 days, he will ask the guests what the need is. This is of course different from the culture in Indonesia.
After hearing all of your story, I got a lot more information about culture that I didn't experience in my workplace and the country that I live.
Yeah, I think we need to adapt more so we can get used to the culture.
That is a great idea.